Hey guys, I want to welcome you back to the Sensu Pop channel. Bandai yesterday dropped a really big news for Dragon Ball Super card game and its online digital client. Yes, we are going to be getting an online digital client in early 2024. However, this is not the online digital client for the Dragon Ball Super card game, but for a Dragon Ball Super card game with new cards, new gameplay, new mechanics, and new format. So this news have expectedly roughed up a lot of opinions and feelings in the community. I'm here to give it my thoughts, my feelings, my opinion on this topic itself, and also interject some of my experience working with things that are similar to this whole topic, especially online application. Okay, so without further ado, let's go straight and talk about the topic. For those who are not privy of what have transpired, Dragon Ball Super card game, the physical version, will now be called Dragon Ball Super card game, the Masters version. So the Masters format or Dragon Ball Super card game Masters. Nothing has changed. A new set will be announced. New support will still be coming in. Tournaments, events will still be held. The only thing that has changed is that the online client that was originally promised for this version of the card game will not be there anymore. But we are still going to be getting the digital online version. However, it is just with a new format and unfortunately with a card pool that is incompatible with the Masters format. This understandably has rived up a lot of negative feelings and negative reactions regarding this announcement. A lot of people felt betrayed because they were promised this online digital version for the Masters version, but now they're gonna have new cards, new stuff for the new game, and this is really bad. It's not that Bandai did not anticipate it. They totally anticipated it because they have this video from this producer explaining why they did that. And as someone with experience working with this type of things, with development, not a developer myself, but with handling projects for developing, owning applications in my office, in work, in the company I work for, that needs to undergo through development, I totally could see this. Actually, I have a tinkling that this is just not going to work already. Because they don't have unlimited budget. Okay, I know how expensive this roughly would cost. So if you like to listen, and it kind of sways me around after listening to it, and I appreciate them a lot. So if you like to listen with examples that I'm going to be giving, breaking down the explanation, feel free, stay. If you don't want to, because I can understand emotions are running high. It's very difficult to listen to somebody regarding this. It's fine. Take a step back. Maybe 1 or 2 days later, after you cool down, maybe give it another chance. It would be fine. If you don't want to, it's totally all right. Okay. But for those who wants to listen, here we go. I'm gonna explain why. The first reason that the producer mentioned is regarding Cardpool Organization. This is the handling of errata cards, limited cards, and also ban cards. So how are they going to handle them from the physical version to the digital version? How does it translate? It's very easy for us to immediately just jump into a conclusion and say, okay, yeah, sure, just handle it the same way. If Masters is limited, it is limited in digital. If it's banned, it's banned. If it's errata, it is errata in digital. Okay, so it's very easy, but let me explain to you why actually this is not as straightforward as it seems. So let us for once imagine that this is the same game and they are trying to achieve the same game. So Master is the physical version and Fusion World is the digital version, and they try to achieve the same game over here. Okay, so we all know that Masters, after some while, we know that that Majin Buu, the Unison card, has been changed to limited. Okay, and it happens a few sets after it has been released. So people dealt with it for a couple of sets already. So how are we gonna handle this? Okay, the other card is the SS4 Gogeta, the Ultimate Fusion. Is it Fusion? Yeah, the Ultimate Fusion. This card is not banned, but we know that the deck that it's designed for, it's already banned. Okay, I'm gonna use this for 2 examples to explain the complexity between trying to fuse the two of them as to be the same game. Okay, so when it comes to Fusion World itself, so what do we do with Majin Buu? Do we on day one apply for the limit, because we already know that this card is very powerful. Why do we want to subject those who are playing the digital version to the same thing, right, that we've gone through? No, we don't have to limit it on day one. Okay, let's just say we limit it on day one. What are we going to do with BoJack then? BoJack kind of is designed in tandem with Majin Buu to work together for the Awaken. BoJack to awaken kind of needs a Unison card that is cost 4 or more. It's more than just having a Unison card that's 4 or more. The thing to help him to draw one card, because BoJack doesn't draw, and the ability to untap, because BoJack is a very defensive card itself, kind of works in tandem, hand in hand with the leader and the Unison. So if we are gonna be limiting the card on day one, BoJack, it's almost unplayable. Okay, so let's move on, and we just said, okay, maybe we just change Majin Buu to, we change the errata of Majin Buu to change it to having a BoJack leader only, and we unlimited it. That means we have to announce it in Masters, making it unlimited, but errata it, and then introduce the errata version of Majin Buu onto BoJack subjugation to BoJack deck, so that it can be launched together. This is just one of the things that they have to do. They have to juggle and balance between the two of them, between digital, okay? It's not straightforward as, oh, it's limited, let's go there. This is just one example. Let us move on. We know that SS for Gogeta, with hindsight, I would say that we already know it from day one, that it is too powerful. So are we still going to release Super Saiyan 4 Son Goku and Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta in it together? Do we want to ban them at the same time? So if we said, okay, we still release it because they still kind of should be played because it's being designed and the set itself comes with this amount of cards anyways. So let's ban it. Okay, let's let them play it and then ban it. I think that's very non-consumer friendly because we're selling them a product, even though it's digitally pulled, but you know, loot boxes and stuff like that, it's going to be worthless, that we know it's going to be worthless down the road. And if the user, the digital card game player already knows that, hey, this is going to be useless down the road, why would they want to have this card? They would ask for their refund, money back, right? The same with BoJack, and we said, okay, we know that Majin Buu is going to be limited. It was going to limit it at the same time, at the same set. Then we're going to follow the footstep of Masters. Then people is not going to play BoJack either because they know down the line Majin Buu it's going to be errata or going to be limited. You know what I mean over here? So this is not just a simple problem because if you try to balance them out in the same game, the producer also mentioned something which is very prevalent also in the industry. It is called a fork. So products or things or codes that kind of starts out as the same, the one thing, eventually because of decisions made down the line, branch out to two different end products altogether. And the reason why this happens, it's usually not one big decision, okay? One big decision to decide, okay, finally we will create a fork. However, there are always pressure building up, so changes and changes and changes. Differences between Fusion World, differences between Master, differences between digital version, physical version, digital. It starts out really small, but eventually all these things adds up and eventually creates a very different product altogether. So this is what the industry called forking, and I hope, because of my pronunciation, YouTube will not detect this and just say that this is unfriendly to children. I meant a fork, you know, it branch out to different products. So we might say, okay, we're going to put in all the money to create the same game, but eventually there's a high probability it's going to end up very differently, unless a lot of care and steps has been taken, which we know is not going to happen. We are limited in time, effort, and money. The next thing he talked about is the unfriendly online mechanics. So things that works well physically does not translate so well digitally. So he actually glanced through and used Revive for example. So I'm going to use Revive for example. I'm going to add in more to talk about this. Okay, so revive checks when your opponent attacks if the battle card is killed or killed by skill. It cannot be, the skills has to not be negated. It has not to be sent to warp. You know, it has to land in the drop area, because when you place the card in drop, that's where the skills kind of activate. So it checks when you want to activate the skills, and if you want to activate the skill, it has to check if the skill cost is paid. You have to place a card that matches all the colors when it comes to revive. It doesn't matter how. So it can be blue. You have a card that is blue, yellow, and then you have a green card that works also. If you have a card that is blue and green, one card would be enough. If you have a card that is green and red, and then you have a card that's yellow, that works as well. So they have to check the skill cost, and after that you resolve the skill cost, and the card is being revived. So after the card is being revived, you have to revive, you have to play the auto, which is when you play this card, you choose up to 2 battle cards and stuff like that, you know. And you said, okay, this seems simple enough, it's pretty straightforward. What is the problem? And computer itself, they can compute this like way faster than we do, right? That is definitely true. However, you know, the card game itself, it's pretty complex. Now let's go to the next step, which is some of the cards that is being discarded actually have skills to resolve. Famously, the baby arrows that's being banned, or the Dr. Wiro that is used for revive. If you use the card for revive, if the card has been discarded for revive, it comes into play. That card will have a skills to resolve. So we now have to move on to resolve the skill, but not resolving the auto first. We need to resolve the skill of the card that's been discarded first, right? So if yes, then you have to pause the game state and ask the players on which auto do you want to resolve first. Is it the Wiro that's been discarded, or do you want to do the come into play effect first? I'm not too sure if this is correct. Maybe one of them gets played first. However, you know the complexity that comes with that. Then you have to resolve auto, you resolve the discarded card auto, and after that you are able to continue with the game state. Yes and no. Actually no, because if you play this card, you have cards that is on your opponent's side that says, okay, maybe if he has a Black Marseillan, your opponent now has a auto that's been triggered, right? So the auto is being triggered by your opponent, or if your opponent has Koizukai, you cannot even see it, and the whole thing has been triggered. And every single thing over here, then your opponent has to wait for you to choose 2 cards from your hands to discard it. You know what's bad about this whole interaction? It's not just the complexity. This revive mechanics, it's just not working so well when it comes to translating it online. The whole thing itself is actually not friendly for an online environment, based on the fact that all these things happens during the non-turn player's turn. So what do I mean by that? When I am playing the card game, especially online, when you're doing card games, when it's your turn, you want it to be your turn. You want to be the one who is playing. However, revive, it's a mechanics that kind of takes that privilege away from the turn player. So instead of turn player playing, it's the non-turn player who's activating all these things. It is okay in a physical environment, because when you're playing, you establish a face-to-face relationship. You kind of know who you're playing with, and both of you have this good interaction back and forth. However, in online environment, you're not going to see the guy's face. Your psyche, the whole psychology, is very different. And one of the things that frustrate people is that, hey, is it me who's playing? Is it my turn, or is it your turn? And if you have a mechanics that keeps on taking that play experience away from the turn player when it's his turn to play, it actually results in a rather negative experience here. So unfriendly online mechanics that does not translate very well to unfriendly so physical gameplay experience that does not translate well to online. And there is another thing, which is all the single steps, there's also a check for counterplay. That means whenever my turn player is playing, when I'm playing this, when I'm playing that, when I'm playing this, there's always a, do you want to counterplay? Do you want to counterplay? If your opponent counterplays, again, it takes away that experience from you, away from you, to give it to away from turn player to the player who's not his turn to play. So that is why maybe Hearthstone does not have counterplay, because of reasons like that. It's just difficult to implement, and also takes the gameplay experience away from the turn player. And also, Do you want to disrupt this action? Do you want to be asked all the time? Do you want to disrupt this action? 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 It's not that when you have a counterplay at hand that you will be asked this, right? They have to ask you all the time because they have to assume that you have, because your opponent is kind of watching. Maybe it's the lag, maybe it's a dialog box that pop up, and if there is no counterplay, there's no dialog box that's going to be popping out, your opponent knows that you don't have counterplay in your hand. So in order for them to resolve this, they have to ask you all the single time. All right, so that's basically that's what I meant by unfriendly online mechanics. Very works well physically, but online it's a different beast altogether. Now let us talk about the cost of development. It's from my experience, most probably deduction as well, that Bandai will not have a in-house developer to develop this app. It's not that they're incapable, it's just a little bit wiser to outsource this behemoth task elsewhere, right? And what they usually do is they buy a certain amount of man hours at a certain cost, reduce costs because they bought it in bulk, and every time they exit it, they pay every single hour, and they get billed every single hour, and it is super pricey. I think it's like 150 or 170%, 75% of the normal hours if you buy it in bulk. It's very expensive. Okay, so when it comes to development itself, the whole thing is that with every single set that's been launched, with a bigger card pool, that increase complexity. Increased complexity, with additional mechanics, it also increased complexity. The problem with this is that they can, of course, check everything. And they said, okay, when we introduce this card, when we introduce this mechanics, we will make sure that there's no bug. The problem is that they are going to be using up a lot from their man-hour pool, and that is not going to be very wise or very efficient. And what they do is they do a bare minimum check. And in order for them to reduce the number of bugs, the less complex it is, the less they're going to run into trouble. So I'm going to give you an example here. So for example, Gogeta, a seemingly easy card that's being released. It's just a super combo. When your opponent is 4 or less, you can play this card, you draw a card, easy. However, several sets ago, you have Vegeta that could do exactly just pick them one up. This is just an example. It happens in the physical card game, but it can also happen in the digital card game. The more complex it is, the more expensive this course is going to be if they want to make sure it is bug-free. The other thing that is easier to handle in physical card game form that does not translate very well to an online card game, it's the cost when there is a change of a general ruling. The backbone of the game is changed. Let me tell you, this is going to cost so much. Okay, so I'm going to give you an example. In a certain block, we will introduce multicolor. And in order for us to distinguish between multicolor cards and the rest of the color cards, we introduce this term called monocolor. Okay, so in physical card game, it's very easy. If your card is only blue, it is mono blue, right? So we have cards that says that, hey, discard a blue card or play a blue card. And now we can use that for multicolor card, because that it's either blue that has blue at one of its color, right? Because that's what we do. However, now we have stuff that says introduce cards that says, okay, you're gonna play a mono blue card. Now you cannot play the multicolor card, right? It's very easy in physical card game because all we have to do is to go to the rulebook, change it, and says that mono blue only refers to mono blue. Multicolor card is both blue and green. So if they said mono blue, you can only use mono blue. However, it doesn't work in a digital card game because all these cards you can program and say, okay, play a mono blue card. Sure. But all the cards that's been introduced, maybe the 600, 800, or 1,000 cards in your card pool, does not have the tag associated or the meta tag associated that identifies itself as a mono blue card or monocolor card. So you said, okay, I'm going to play a monocolor card, but the blue card was already existing as only a blue card. That means you have to retroactively go back and change the main mechanics of the game. So what should Bandai do in terms of this, right? So do they, because they want to introduce something that's easy to implement physically, but a nightmare to implement in the digital format, and it goes like, okay, actually it's very fun for physical, but it's not it's not very, it's going to cost us a lot to implement it in digital, so we are not going to do it, right? So it's easier for them to just fork and said, okay, we're going to have this as a physical card game that exists very differently, and we're not going to introduce things like that that's going to affect the digital card game. If not, we're going to throw in even more money just to do that. So the whole idea here is the simpler the mechanics, the cheaper the cost of development and also maintenance, because it is also less buggy. And trust me, it is very, very expensive. It is extremely expensive to handle such things. And the more complex it is, the more buggy the whole thing it's going to be, especially if it's not properly implemented. Okay, let's talk about the final topic, which is going to be ROI, return of investment. Let's get this straight. Bandai, it's a company and it is here to make some profits, and along the way, hopefully they create some products that we like. And what the pandemic has taught companies at Bandai is that they need to have an online presence. I believe that it wasn't a very good time for them because they were caught off guard, nothing happens, and it kind of wakes them up to the reality of the world, and especially how we're going to move forward. So Bandai do have a limited budget for Dragon Ball Super card game. It is just one of their revenue stream. You cannot say that Bandai, it's a $1 billion company, they have unlimited budget. Not true. Their budget needs to be spread. And I think it spreads along according to how much more money can it make for them, right? Eventually, come on, let's be real here. And in order for them to have an online presence, there are several factors. There are two main ways to go. Okay, the first one is the white ones, which is go with what they plan, which is create a simpler and faster gameplay format, resulting in a cheaper development cost. Eventually, because it's a simpler and faster format, it has a better online viewing experience because it's easier for people to follow, and if they make it exciting, they would actually grow it into an esports, maybe. And because it's simpler, it has a low barrier of entry, it has more potential to draw in more players. Yeah, and it's also cheaper. Or the same complex, or they can go the other way, which is the same complex and longer gameplay. The good part is you have already a big established player pool, not very big in comparison to other gameplay or the potential that they're gonna have, but you're gonna have it. However, because it is so complex, longer gameplay, and this does not translate very well online, and it also has a very expensive development cost. I hope I can convince you that it is super expensive to develop something like that. It's not that they cannot. Okay, a lot of people mentioned MTG, Yu-Gi-Oh! And said, okay, look, they have done it, why can't we do it? Yes, of course, but what is their player base? Who wants to play it that way, right? Way magnitudes bigger. And also, what is their revenue that has, of course, maybe Bandai, it's bigger than Hasbro, but is Dragon Ball Super card game bigger than MTG? No, not by a long shot. Okay, and because of that, it's also harder to maintain the complex gameplay. Have you ever tried to teach people how to play Dragon Ball Super card game? I dare you, go and try. Especially if they're not, they're kind of, they like Dragon Ball, but they're not a card game player. They want to collect, but want to play a little bit. Try to teach them. It's so difficult. It's so difficult. Teach them to be competent to play in the locals. It's just so difficult. And yeah, it caters to the current poor players. It don't have that much potential to draw in more players because the gameplay, it's extremely complex. So if you're Bandai, could you just take away the feelings that, hey, I just want to, oh yeah, they promised me and I like this card game, so I want it. If you're Bandai, if you're a little bit detached from this, you have the same amount of money, what is the best way forward? I think whatever they pick here, it's a very good compromise. They're gonna take Dragon Ball, they're gonna take Dragon Ball Super card game, the main skeleton itself that makes it so fun for us. They need to refine it, make it simpler, make it faster, so it is much better for the online players. And yeah, and resulting in cheaper development maintenance costs in order to draw in potentially more players. and then also resulting in like a better online viewing experience, maybe becoming esports. Hey guys, so these are my thoughts and my feelings for Dragon Ball Super Card Game and the announcement, specifically Dragon Ball Super Card Game Fusion World. Is this the best way forward? Definitely not. The way that they handle the digital client, the announcement, the bait and switch thing, it's a little bit not so nice. So understandably so, a lot of people doesn't really like it. But if I find myself taking a step back, thinking about it, I really think that with what they have on the table, this is pretty well done. Yep. So these are only my thoughts, and I'm pretty sure that there are stuff that I missed. So if you have opinions and stuff like that, please write it down. That you think that I missed, please write it down in the comment section. But I really beseech you, and I really ask that if your opinion is, oh, they disrespected me, and it's more personal, and they disrespected me, they betrayed me and stuff like that, and if you wanna, please don't need to write it there, because these are not reasons, right? Let's talk about reasons. Is there a reason? For example, if you believe that, okay, there's a chance that Fusion World, it's gonna cannibalize what we like, Masters format, that I agree with you. There's a high chance that that would happen, but for now, we're not sure. Okay, it's a little bit too fast to cast a stone. Okay, so if you have things like that, please write down in the comment section. I would love to hear it. Hey guys, so this is a very difficult video to make, so I am anticipating a lot of dislikes. So if you like this video, I appreciate it. You can help me out. Give this video a like, subscribe if you want to support me and the channel. I'm pretty sure I will have a lot of unsubscribers now. Anyways, stay safe, stay healthy, enjoy playing the Dragon Ball Super Card Game. I definitely hope you guys are okay. See you guys in the next video. Ciao, bye.